Good morning, everybody. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today is Happy Healthy Habits with Ramen Shimizu and friends. And Ramen's in the studio today. We're all excited
Yay!
with her guests. Um, so we're going to get right to it. I just want you to know that it is the day where you should be hydrating like every day and relaxing and sitting back and enjoying the conversation. We will be monitoring the chat. I want to give a shout out to our producer, Miss Francine Gregory, real estate entrepreneur and tech diva, operating all those wonderful things in the background, sending us the wonderful places like Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So, whatever your flavor is, we're there for you. So, sit back, relax. Let's enjoy the conversation. How you doing this morning, Robin?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Good to see you, Terry. Thank you, Francine, in the background. And thank you, Dr. Dandridge, for joining us. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Dr. Tanisha Dandridge. She started out in engineering and computer sciences when she was younger, and then she got really interested in um, natural medicine. So she got a BS. She left the engineering field and got a BS in natural health and sciences and an MS in acupuncture and oriental medicine. And then she got her doctorate just last year in 2018 in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And I thought this was really interesting when I looked at her website. She also offers mobile acupuncture, which I thought was so cool.
Oh,
So maybe she can tell us a little bit about that also. And then I also wanted to mention that she is an author of a paper, or yeah, I think it's a paper, Unusual Tale of Acupuncture, Racism, and the African American History in the USA.
mm,
Interesting. So with that, Dr. Dandridge, if you'd like to expand a little bit on your background, excuse me, and tell us a little bit more about yourself if you like, and then we'll get right into it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And first, let me say good morning to all of you wonderful ladies. And I appreciate you having me back on your really, truly awesome show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, so yeah, I started my undergraduate at Morgan State in electrical engineering with a minor in computer science. And it was really not the subject for me. And while I was out in Baltimore, I discovered the benefits of natural medicine, and I thought it was so amazing that I wanted to learn how to do it myself. And so I went to Bastyr. I finished my bachelor's, got my master's, and I started my private practice in Baltimore in 2009. So I have been in practice for almost forever, and I love this medicine so much that I went ahead and finished my doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine just last year. I'm glad to have that one under my belt. I offer mobile medicine, strangely enough, because of one of my early experiences in Baltimore. One of my first clients was a woman who had mobility issues. And she couldn't get out of her home really well. And she was like, please, my nurses, my doctors, my physical therapist, my massage therapist, everyone comes to my house, come to my house. And it changed my practice. So that's what I do now.
mm.
That is awesome. So
I
your
find that
business is,
really interesting. I'm excited about the fact that you're mobile.
yeah.
I love being mobile. It's a very unique way of practicing. You develop a really rich bond with your clients, and you're able to help people more than your standard doctor's appointment, because when you go see just about anybody, you get about 10, 15 minutes and that's it.
Correct.
And then you're gone and you deal with the text for the rest of the time. When you're having an appointment with me, you get me for that whole hour. So you can ask me about foods, you can ask me about herbs, you can ask me about lotions. We put up notes. There's homework for you to do between the next visit, and you're responsible for doing all of those things so that you can continue your wellness. When you have so much time with the client, you can really teach a person how to drive the body that they live in every day.
Mm.
That's awesome. I've been to acupuncturists before, and I would just, that is just so amazing, because you're right. It's about a 10-minute visit
Usually, and then
normally.
you sit with the needles the rest of the time. So I'm there with
Yep.
you the rest of the time. I make sure that everything in your house is okay. Like if you have a dog or a child or whatever, you'd be amazed the interesting things that happens in an hour at somebody's home. And then
No.
I pack myself up. Most people like curl up on their bed and they go to sleep, and I leave.
Wow.
So no
That,
traffic, no hassle, just
No
relaxation.
hassle, no nothing. I take it all out of your hands.
That's nice.
oh, take the hassle out of the hustle. Okay.
Mhm. Take the hassle out of the hustle called your health.
Yes. Wow.
So, so today we're talking about food stagnation and holiday stress.
Yeah. I thought that would be a really good topic to talk about at this time of year. Everybody's about to get their complete and total gorgement on next Thursday. And so, what I will end up seeing is a lot of people complaining about their digestion after that, or the amount of stress that they're going to begin to experience as the holiday season approaches. And so, one of the things that I really love to do in my practice is to be able to teach people things that they can do for themselves to kind of keep them out of my office, which is probably not a good business practice. But I really got into this medicine because I wanted to be able to take care of me, and I want clients to be able to take care of themselves. So food stagnation is the result of eating a lot of food improbably and properly.
Oh, is
Ah.
that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, that's what that is. You know, that really deep, heavy feeling you get when you've eaten too much, and you're just kind of like, oh, I can't breathe. My stomach hurts. I can't go to the bathroom straight. Like I don't feel good. I feel really distended. Like that's
Mhm.
food stagnation in Chinese medicine.
So
Okay.
that's sort of the result of gorging ourselves over the holidays, is what I say.
That is that. It's not just the gorging though. It's also the fact that we eat improperly. So in Chinese medicine, the rules around diet and nutrition are a little different than what most people are accustomed to with natural medicine. So for example, there are 5 flavors which you need to have a complete balance of in your diet. We don't believe in cold foods or raw foods or juicing or smoothies or salads. Typically when I see people who have digestive problems, the first thing I say is like, do you do a smoothie every morning? They're like, yeah. I get my smoothie every morning. It's like, great, stop. And your digestion will be a lot better. And that is really different than the mainstream attitudes towards nutrition. So if your digestion is cold all the time, and then you suddenly dump all this heavy, rich food into your system and you're doing it constantly, the body has a hard time breaking all of that stuff down and moving it through the digestion appropriately. So I wanted to talk about that.
Oh, well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Tell us more.
I'm trying to make sure
I'm
there's no questions. I'm trying to stop.
fascinated.
Thank you.
Um, So in Chinese medicine, the digestive system is broken down into what's called the spleen and the stomach, right? And this is
Okay.
your middle jiao. And the thing that I love about Chinese medicine is that it's always telling a story to be able to explain the principles behind it. So the story of the middle jiao, or the spleen and stomach, is that the stomach catches all of the food and it's in charge of rotting and ripening, and it wants to be kind of warm. And once it gets done with its job of ripening and rotting the food, it sends the food down to the spleen, and the spleen's job is to separate the stuff that's good and turn it into chi, and then to send off the things that it doesn't need. And so it does that for your food, and it does that for your liquids. Now, what you don't want to do is take this good hot pot that's cooking and doing all of this work, because that's what the spleen is. It's like a pot, and there's supposed to be a fire underneath it, cooking your food so that things can separate. And if you dump something cold on it, just like anything that's a pot or ceramics, because think that's a lot of what their cooking could have been in, was in ceramics, you would break the pot, right? If you take a hot glass and you put ice in it, all of a sudden the glass is going to break. So that's how we view digestion in traditional Chinese medicine. You don't want to put too much cold stuff on the digestion. It'll break the pot, or it'll slow the boiling and the cooking process down. Now, you guys cook, so you don't want to slow down the cooking process when you're dealing with, say, something like meat, because you don't want to have any digestive issues from things like E. coli or salmonella, right? So you want to keep that fire going. But what we do in this country is we drink a lot of drinks with tons of ice in them, right? So that's putting that cold on the stomach. We do a lot of raw foods in the name of health. So that's, again, putting a lot of cold on the stomach. And then we do this particularly over the course of the summer. So by the time we get to the fall and winter, our digestion's kind of sluggish and it's slowing down. And then what do we do at this time of year? We dump all this new, rich, heavy food on it. And your poor little cooking system's like, I can't. I got nothing left, right? So I like the good stories. And when you have a story, then your clients can kind of remember. It's like, oh, all right. I don't want to slow down my cooking. I don't want to break my pot. So what can I do to facilitate this process called my digestion, according to Chinese medicine? So first and foremost, don't do a whole bunch of cold food. Don't do a bunch of salads and smoothies. You really should be eating warm foods at this time of year. One of the ways that we think about that is, if you think of what's popular at this time of year, is what? Mulling spices, chai, soups, stews, and chilies. And there's a reason why we do this, because it helps not only to build up our digestion, but it helps out what we call the tonification process, the building up process, because that's what should be happening in the fall. You should be building up your internal systems so that you can make it through the winter and come out with a strong spring. Everything is drawing itself in and pulling it all the way down into the roots. And you should be doing that with your digestion. You should be getting things that have heavy mineral content and things that are very warm and very activating for your digestion. So I'm going to stop for a second and see if there's questions.
Yeah. Well, my question is, so what would that include? Would that include things like stews and soups, or how do we get warm down there?
So
how do we stir up the pot?
So there are ways to heal the pot. And so one of the ways that you do that is simply by having soup, right? If you think, what does everyone cook at this time of year? Chili, beef stew, chicken noodle soup, chicken and dumplings. A lot of people like to go out and get their pho or get their ramen. Like, there's a whole host of soups that exist out there that a lot of people will start to consume. So it doesn't really matter to me what soup that you use. The tip that I would give you would be that you should be including bone broth. If you're not vegetarian, not stepping on no toes, right? There's a vegetarian bone broth too. But you should be including bone broth, because bone broth does help to heal the gut. If you're cooking your bone broth appropriately with a little bit of vinegar over an extended period of time, then it breaks down the mineral content in the bones. And so those minerals that a lot of people have to go buy, like manganese, magnesium, calcium, zinc, all of those things are in the bones. So if you're making your soups and you're making your stews with a little bit of bone broth, you're helping to get that deep nutrition in, and you're helping to keep the pot in good health. Now, most bone broth is made with one particular herb, right? And that's ginger. I don't know if you can see my little piece of ginger there, right? So ginger has the properties of being warm. And it's really good for your middle jowl, your spleen, and your stomach. And so you can take a couple of pieces of ginger and you can add it to most of your soups and stews to kind of get the spleen and stomach to going. Most things that we use at this time of year help to get the spleen and the stomach going. So another example would be cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. All of these things aid in the digestion. And if you think about the pumpkin spice phenomenon that happens every year, what's in it?
Ginger.
All right. Ginger, nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon, all of these things that we call aromatic herbs, right? And so they have this really good make you want to take a deep breath kind of thing. And you cook them for a long time traditionally, right? You don't cook them for 5 minutes. You got to let them go for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes to really get that strong flavor. Well, anytime you're slow cooking food in traditional Chinese medicine, then you're aiding your digestion. You're aiding your middle jowl, right?
So then a crock pot makes sense.
The crock pot is my favorite thing at this time of year. The crock pot and the pressure cooker, because if you're like me, you gotta get things go.
We've got Brenda in here, and Maureen. It says her favorite thing is cooking on the stove. Hey, Maureen. Hey, Lakeisha. It's good to see you guys.
That good old fashioned, slow cook, that 6 hour slow cook. There's nothing wrong with it. That's how we've traditionally cooked as a people. Most over human history, we've slow cooked a lot of things in pots or underground or in ovens. isn't available year round in any culture. Like everybody has a season where things don't grow. So you have to have something else to eat. And this is how we ate. We ate our roots, we ate our tubers, we ate our beans, we ate our things that we could hold on to in the fall that would last through the winter because there was nothing else to eat.
Ergo root cellars and things of that nature.
Exactly.
I love ginger. I put ginger in my tea.
You should. Ginger is wonderful for your digestion. It's really great.
I love it. Now, let me ask you this, because we got some statements over here. We're going to share in a minute. But does it make a difference if the ginger is treated? You know how they have ginger coated with sugar in the little containers at the grocery store versus fresh ginger?
I'm glad that you asked. Okay, so in Chinese medicine, we don't demonize things, right? There are appropriate things for appropriate conditions, and that may not be your condition. Typically speaking, we can prepare herbs in Chinese medicine. So some ways of preparing them include adding honey or sugars to them. We actually do use sugar as a part of our medicine. And that's just for certain occasions. Isn't that weird? Right?
It's a good thing.
It's a small amount, right? It's just
it is a small amount. It's not the amount of sugar that we typically consume in, say, a soft drink. You can dry fry things, and candied ginger does have a place. It is not something that you should put in as your everyday kind of digestive thing. So fresh ginger, particularly a tea, where you slice the ginger very thin and you let it steep for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then you can take that and you can add our buddy over here, basil, right? Which makes a nice bouquet if you want to set that out, and people can pull off pieces of it and add it to their tea at their whim. Basil is another
basil.
This is basil. You can add basil. Basil is another really good digestive herb. And so you can make a little tea out of this, either out of vegetable broth, out of bone broth, or just plain old water. And you can steep these things. Well, you steep the ginger first for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then you add the basil at the end. And that will help your digestive system out.
Oh.
Right. So, and this is a tea that you can serve over your Thanksgiving dinner so that people can have something else to consume. Now, the trick is most people want to add sugar. So if you wanted to add a lump of candied ginger, then you could to flavor your tea, or you could add something like Bragg's or a pinch of sea salt so that you had something savory and you're not continuously adding sugar to your system, because we're all going to eat a little pie on Glut Day.
Right? Yeah. Wow. Well, Brenna says, I eat ginger candy for digestion. She loves cinnamon in her coffee, and she uses it for balancing blood sugar.
Absolutely. Cinnamon is wonderful for balancing blood sugar, and so is basil, strangely enough. They induce hypoglycemia, which is the lowering of the blood sugar. Cinnamon also helps out with colds and flus. It helps to make sure that your body is sweating and moving chi around appropriately. And cinnamon's good for what we call microcirculation. So if you have the type of arthritis that doesn't like cold and doesn't like damp weather, adding cinnamon to your daily regime can really help to get your bones moving a little easier.
Interesting. Okay. And then Maureen says bone broth for cooking since last year. Let's see. She wants you to know she's having a good time on the show.
Yay. Thank you.
And then, Brenna says basil in my sandwich is great, like eating it.
Yes, basil is delicious. It has a really nice aromatic smell.
And then she says here that I think she's talking about ginger. She uses it in her tea too. Yeah, I love it in my tea.
Ginger is just amazing. It is a great thing to add to the first part of your morning. So you can take this ginger basil tea and you can drink this first thing in the morning, and that will aid your digestion and get your stomach ready to go to work for the day. I like them both. I cook with them a lot. I put it in my eggs. I put it in everything.
The basil?
Basil is good in everything.
Oh.
If it's not sweet, basil is delicious in everything. You can cook your rice with basil. You can saute just about anything with basil. It's good in pastas and sauces. It's good in gravy. It's good in stir fries. It's good in everything.
All right. This is, I find this interesting. I very seldom eat basil unless it's over pasta. You were going to say
Well,
something, Robin?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that if we're supposed to be eating warm foods or hot foods in the fall and the winter to get our bodies more, I guess, in a healthier state for digestion and stuff. So you would start your day out rather than with a smoothie, you would start your day out with like warm cereal
warm
or something
cereal,
like that.
warm tea, or kanjis. Um, Beans, like kanjis, there are a lot of so we usually think of beans as more of a savory thing, but in Chinese medicine we have bean kanjis, which are slow cooked beans that are a little bit more bland, and you can start that as a part of your day. Or you can just have
Interesting.
a cup of tea instead of just dumping something cold on your stomach first thing in the morning, which is why I'm saying you can take a couple of slices of ginger, steep them for 15 or 20 minutes. You can even make this the day or the night before and heat it up. And then you can add a little basil to it. You can add a little lemon to it. You can add a little pinch of Bragg's or salt to it. You can have something warm to stimulate your digestion first thing in the morning instead of dumping something cold on it first thing in the morning. So I'm never like hard and fast about rules. I'm like, whatever works for you. Some people don't like oatmeals or cream of wheats or porridges or grits or any of those kinds of things. So the tea in and of itself is a great way to start your day.
Oh. Well,
Okay,
Brenda
well,
has something to
normally,
say. She
go
said,
ahead,
she's
Brenda.
saying, in my culture, we make tea with, was that passed fruit? I'm not sure what that means. Raisins, prunes, apricots, and cinnamon sticks all the time in the winter and in the fall.
Huh.
Yes, we do that. The fruit that we like to use in Chinese medicine are Asian pears and Chinese dates, because these two also help out with your digestion. And Asian pears are good for the lungs in the fall. That dry cough that people have that they can never quite get rid of. You can take rock sugar, Asian pears, and cinnamon, and you just kind of steep them all together for about a good 30, 40 minutes. And then you can drink this every day. And that helps out with that horrible dry cough. And it also helps out with your digestive system. So I love Chinese medicine because the herbs play a variety of parts. It's not just one thing for one thing. You use things and they have a variety of functions and a variety of helpers.
And it looks like Maureen Stevenson's training is similar. She's saying they eat for the season and you warm your body inside out. So that,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you, Maureen, for that. Interesting. I had not really heard about that before. And so that makes me feel like, okay, instead of drinking my big glass of huge ice water or water in the morning, maybe I should switch it off to some tea
Yes.
instead.
That's what's going through my mind.
Right? Right, Terry? Because that's what we usually do is drink that water down. So
Yep, we drink that water down. So
Well,
instead of that, make yourself a nice warm cup of tea. And so there's no caffeine in it. It's food based. It's
yeah.
safe for everybody, right? So it's something that anybody can do. And those are the lessons that I like.
Oh,
well,
And
now
so
see, now I don't have to change because that's the first thing I do in the morning is have that tea.
just have that tea.
So, and then I try to run around and have some water, make sure I get some water. But
Right.
I'm drawn toward the tea, and I put honey in the tea.
mhm.
Um, but Brenda is saying eat stuff that is wrinkled.
Yeah, so stuff that is wrinkled can include things like walnuts and particularly beans. When you soak them, they get a little wrinkly
Oh,
looking. Things that are wrinkled, they usually have like a lot of deep nutrition in them. And so,
hmm
speaking of like wrinkly things, because I have so many things sitting over here, like this is a little weird and wrinkly thing. This is called a Buddha hand. And
okay.
if you could smell it, it smells like lemons, it smells like citron. And
Mm.
it's a wrinkly thing that is also good for your digestion and it's good for holiday stress, right? It's called fo shou. And you can take a couple of pieces of it and put in your tea, and that will also aid in helping out your digestive system. It's also good for that wonderful dry cough thing that happens at this time of year. And
Yes.
it smooths out what we call liver qi stagnation. So it helps people to feel happy and not irritable or depressed or anxious, which is important when you have people around at the holiday times. And basil does that too. Basil is really good
You
for
have the
moving
wonderfulness with
stagnation.
family at holiday time.
Yeah, the wonderfulness of family and holiday times. We want everybody to stay wonderful for the whole holiday, right? And that includes yourself, because cooking a big meal and having people at your house, like, it's really stressful. And so you should do things for yourself to kind of like aid and move that along so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And faux show, which is, a really interesting looking centerpiece. It's a great talking point, and it's something that you can put out and make a game out of it, like, guess what it is and guess what it's for. It smells delicious. You can just boil it for no reason, and you can make candy out of this too. So you can eat a little faux show candy. They're typically candied. And that can also aid in your digestion. Not that you should eat too much sugar. Or you can drop a candied piece of faux show in your ginger basil tea. So yeah,
Oh,
okay.
that's
So
it.
how do you
This is one of my
spell that? How do
One
you
more
spell
time.
that?
how do you
Faux show.
spell
How do
it?
you
Buddha.
spell that?
It's Buddha hand, Buddha, Buddha hand, because it's like his fingers, little fingers growing out of it.
And you buy it at like the Chinese markets?
No, believe it or not, I have typically found these at the farmer's market on Sunday under the bridge. There is this wonderful group there, wonderful stand there called Lynn Cove Ranch, I believe. And they have all of these amazing citrons that I buy all winter long. So they have like key lime, like real key lime, something else that you can put in your tea. And again, it's wrinkly. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah. Also, real key lime has wrinkles.
Real key lime has wrinkles, and it's very, very fragrant, and it tastes much better than any of the artificial stuff, and it's high in vitamin C. So these things combined together act both not only for your digestion, but it's a little kick to your immune system. And you can sprinkle these on just about anything. Again, eggs, meats, vegetables. They're really good on vegetables, pastas, and it gives just enough kick and enough flavor to stuff. And so that again is something that's wrinkly.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you what the comments are. Brenda says the kids won't eat things, but check this out. But they'll drink things. Then Maureen is saying she adds turmeric for inflammation.
So turmeric has to be cooked a certain way for its beneficial properties. And that's something that most people don't realize. So in order for turmeric to do what to have the most beneficial effect, it has to be combined with an oil and a pungent herb like pepper. So people who are just kind of adding it, but you're not cooking with it, you're not getting all the benefits out of turmeric. And, turmeric is wonderful. And there's so many things that you can like add to tea. I was trying to like keep it to things that keep that holiday digestion going so that we don't have upset stomachs and that we're trying to repair in the spring.
Okay. Then Brenda says fruit that is wrinkled for the tea.
Wrinkly fruit like dates, Chinese dates, jujubes are wrinkled when they're dry. And it is one that we often add to tea. Plus ginger, which is called shengjiang, and the dates are called datsao. You can put these two things together and it makes a wonderful tea.
Now, Maureen is saying fennel tea is great also.
It is. It's wonderful.
And does that help with digestion?
Fennel can actually help with digestion, and fennel, strangely enough, also helps with lactation. Go figure.
Oh. Say what? Because my daughter's getting ready to have a baby.
Fennel is great.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so wait a minute. Brenda's saying something about candied orange peel.
So orange pills in Chinese medicine, you have orange peels that's called qianpi or tangerine pills. And we absolutely use that in digestion. And it's also a little bit of a diuretic. So if you were, and this is the citrus time of year where you can get a lot of oranges and things, you can keep the peels from your oranges and just let them sit out. And again, these are things that you can add to that tea. So you can have a little ginger and a little orange peel, and you can add a little basil to it afterwards. And again, all of these things make an excellent digestive tea that helps to keep your stomach moving.
Interesting.
Okay. And what about sweet lime, Maureen says?
Sweet limes are awesome, but we don't really use those quite as much for digestion in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay. Wow, these comments are coming in, Robert.
Rolling. I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting all that.
We always
old apples,
put lime in
oranges are wrinkled. Yeah.
We always put lime in soup. So acids, right? Acids help to break down foods, period. So if you're talking about vinegar, if you're talking about lime, if you're talking about lemon, all of these things help to break down foods, and they add the added benefit of helping to boost your immune system. People say to me all the time, it's like, oh, I take my vitamin C. And I'm like, why? you just use a little lemon and that's your vitamin C right there. So things like lemons, limes, sweet limes, Jerusalem limes, oranges, these are all wonderful things that you can add to your tea to get additional health benefits.
Oh, okay. Now, Brenda says old apples, oranges are wrinkled. Old
So
apples?
yeah, old apples, so like mulling spices. So when people had things that they couldn't use because they were no longer pretty, you could take things like old apples, old pears, old oranges. You could take your old core fruits and, well, any fruit that was just kind of starting to fail on you, and you can add it into water and you can combine it with your mulling spices, which is traditionally what would happen in like a lot of European countries. These are not quite so much Asian recipes. We do have some like this, but not as much. And so you take your cardamoms, you take your cinnamon, you take your ginger, you take your nutmegs, you take these spices and you warm them with this old fruit, and sometimes even wine, like they had mulled wine. And these things would help with your digestion, and they would also help to boost your immune system. We do some of these things in Chinese medicine, but we soak herbs in wine and we soak fruit in wine. Things like gochitsa, which is another wrinkly one, since we were bringing up wrinkly things. Gochitsa or goji berries are wrinkled when you're when you get them, and so you can steep all of these things in wine, or you can steep them in tea, and they have a whole host of amazing benefits for the body. And so people are always like, you need to take things, and I remind them that in Chinese medicine, our taking things was a tea. We didn't take pills. We took decoctions or tong or tea, and that's what that translates into. So when you hear of Chinese herbs and Chinese medicine, like one of my favorite ones is Xiao Yao San or Xiao Yao Tong, Xiao Yang decoction, free and easy wonder or decoction, the tea of herbs that make up this decoction. So teas in general are better for your digestion than any smoothie, because you allow that chemical reaction to happen between the components. Did you guys take basic chemistry in high school? Did you like have Bunsen burners and all that stuff?
Yes, but ask me, did I understand it? Okay. I dissected the frog, all of that, but hey.
But if you remember, like vaguely, if you wanted to speed up a chemical reaction, what did you do? You added heat to it, right? So you would put things in that beaker and it would have like a little Bunsen burner underneath it. And then that thing would cook, and that's how you would get your chemical reaction. And if you wanted to slow down a chemical reaction, what did you do? You added ice to it, and then you would get a precipitate. So you would get things falling out of your solution. You'd have chunks and stuff at the bottom. The same kind of things happen in your digestion. So if you're adding things to water and you cook them for 15 to 20 minutes, you're creating a chemical reaction so that you can get the best things out of those herbs and spices. All herbs and spices pretty much have some benefit to it. You can't go wrong if you're using oregano or thyme or basil or fennel or fenugreek, or like honestly any seasoning that you could possibly use has some health benefit to it. And they have more, and they have a synergistic effect when you're combining them the way that they're traditionally used. So for example, basil and lime and ginger are traditionally used in things like pho, and we call that the Vietnamese penicillin. If you're sick, you go and have some pho and it'll make you feel better. If you're thinking about curries, you have your turmeric that is mixed with oils and other pungent spices like nutmegs or cinnamon and oil, and they're cooked. And so curries have a health benefit to it. So when you are kind of adhering to the way traditional cultures have cooked, you're getting some extra benefit as opposed to trying to take things all the time. I want people to eat their medicine. I want you to have good habits so that you're always getting these antioxidants in, you're always getting these herb boosters in, you're always getting these inflammatories in, you're always getting things anti-inflammatories, not inflammatories.
We know what you meant.
Yeah. You're always getting things into your system that help you out, right? And that's the benefit of using unusual ingredients like Budahan, like key lime, right? Like ginger and like basil. If these things are things that you're always cooking with, you can take this and put it on a cheese grater, and you can again add it to things like eggs. and it gives your food this nice citrusy flavor without all of the sour. It's a little more bland. So one more time.
Interesting. I said,
I'm fascinated. I think this is so much fun. This is
Right. And then
it. I'm so inspired now to start drinking a lot of teas.
yeah, drink a little tea, add a little fresh herbs to your food, and then you're getting health benefits instead of having to take something all the time. And then your food is delicious, right? And you want to stay home and you want to cook, you want to eat these good things for yourself all of the time.
wow, we got comments over here.
Okay.
Maureen, who does the table of six, where she teaches women how to cook to live, she says, in my culture, we add dry orange peel combined with ginger to make tea. She goes on to say, so tea's great. I love
Tea
tea.
is wonderful. Tea is good. You can't go wrong. You cannot mess it up. If you're putting stuff in
Exactly.
water and you're cooking it, you're doing it right.
There you go. And then Brenda says, in the tea that I make has all old fruits, raisins, prunes, apricots, orange leaves, cinnamon sticks, boil for 30 minutes. That's our team. Moms are the best chemists. That's
We
what
have
they
mommy
taught
tea
us
here.
as children. That's true.
We have mommy tea here. We take a couple of pears and some Chinese dates and ginger, and we add astragalus or huang qi to it, and like a little pinch of elderberries, oftentimes some cinnamon sticks and a little Buddha hand. So we make mommy tea here that my son requests, and when we have spend the nights, all the little boys like, oh, can you make tea? And you put a little honey in it, or a little bit of rock sugar in it, or in my case, I grow stevia outside, so I add stevia to the tea. So I, again, don't have to add as much sugar to whatever it is that I'm consuming, because while a little bit of sugar isn't so bad, we don't want to do too much of it. And fruit has a lot of sugar in it. So if you're cooking it for 30 minutes, or if you're cooking it for an hour, the natural sugars of the fruit will break down in the tea and come out into the water.
Very good. Maureen says she loves this information.
Yay! All right. So we are running down on time, and there were a couple of acupuncture points that I wanted to go over that also go along with this whole theory of controlling stress and helping out with food stagnation. And so I have my helper here. I wasn't
all right
up here.
we love props. Go ahead.
Right. All right. So props. All right. So one of the points that we use at holiday time for food stagnation exists between the second and third toes. I don't know if you can see that right there. And in a real foot, there's a little bit of, I'm going to get a better pointer and get a little closer. There's this webbing of space in between all of the toes. It's just a little bit of space that's right there. And so right here in this little bit of space, and ooh, I can even kind of mark it on my handy helper here, is a point called stomach 44. Right. And stomach 44 is used specifically for what we call food stagnation, when you've eaten too much and your stomach hurts and you have kind of sour and slow digestion and you don't feel good and everything's really distended and heavy and you can't breathe and you don't feel good. That point right there is really specific for food stagnation. So what do you do with it, right? Because obviously no one's going to be poking themselves with needles. Don't do that.
We'll have you do that for us.
That's right. That's my job. I do that. So you can get things like a stone, right? You can get massage pens. There's all these pens that people can buy online these days. And then you cut it on. And when you push it, it stimulates the point, right? So you can put that point right there. You can take a warm stone, because we love warm things in Chinese medicine, and you can rub that point. There we go. You can rub that point on your foot, right? Other options include just rubbing it with your finger. And there are people who are always going to ask me, what about magnets, right? Yes, you can totally take a magnet. This is a piece of hematite, and you can rub that point on your foot. And you can do this for yourself. You can do this for children who are having upset stomach, or elderly people who are having upset stomach because their digestion isn't able to keep up with all that super, super rich food. So stomach 44 is one of my absolute all-time favorite points for I have eaten way too much food.
Wow. You know something that was worth worth the price of admission right there.
Yes.
So for at dessert
Wow.
time, we have everybody take off their shoes and start
Yep.
And rub that
putting
point.
pressure on stomach 44 point.
Exactly, exactly. So then the other point that I wanted to teach everybody while I'm over here drawing on my helper here is, can you see that? Oh, yes, that came out. So there's a point called liver 3. And liver 3 is between the first two toes, right? Between your big toe and your second toe. And the way that you find this point is if you rub on your foot, you'll feel these two bones just kind of coming up into like a V shape right about there. That might be a little too high. So you want to find that V, and you can rub that spot right there, right? Same way you can take your magnet, or you can take your stone, or you can take your little electro pin, or anything else that you want, and you can just kind of rub and stimulate that point. So you can just kind of rub these two things together, and one will help out with the stagnation of food, and the other one helps out with liver chi stagnation, which is what we call it when you're stressed out and things are not happening the way that you want them to with your spirit and your mental health. And so all of these things combined, if you're serving up this tea and you rub these 2 points, then these things are marvelous for just kind of getting you through some of the holiday stress. There are, yes, tons of points for food stuff. There's tons of points for stress stuff more than that. But I wanted to introduce those two because those are two really, really common points that we use in traditional Chinese medicine at this time of year.
Fascinating.
Wow. I like the whole idea of mommy tea.
Mommy tea. Everybody should have a mommy tea. They should have something that you give your kid, as mine just woke up, as a part of the morning. And it's awesome. And it's something that becomes a household tradition. You can get ready for, instead of chai tea, your mom tea or your dad tea, not leaving out the dads, right? Or the grandpa tea or the uncle tea. And that can be your gift to your family.
Beautiful.
You know what I love about this, Dr. Dandridge, is that now people know what they can do with some of their old fruit that they don't want to peel and eat themselves, whatever, or the apples are wrinkled or whatever. I have to admit, this last Sunday, because I have garbage pickup on Mondays, I threw all that fruit out.
Oh no!
This week. So we're off by about 4 days. So I'm never going to do that again.
No, you can turn it into tea. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's
so
easy.
awesome.
You don't even have to make it small. Just cut it into chunks and just shove it in some water and forget about it.
God, that's
I had never really thought about that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Oh,
You're
that's
welcome.
awesome.
One last thing Brenda wanted to share with us was that she even puts the skin from her washed pineapple in the tea. She doesn't throw it away.
Oh.
So the peels and rinds of things are highly undervalued in American society, whether it's orange peel, watermelon peel, pineapple peels, lemon peels. Like, peels are used in Chinese medicine. And we have like a whole formula just based on peels. And what they do is they act as a mild diuretic, and they help the body to deal with fluid accumulation. So most peels either help out with digestion. You can take like the peels from corn. When you have like your fresh raw corn, you can take the peels and the silk and you can make corn tea, and it acts as a mild diuretic. Most peels and skins of things have a value, but we throw these things away. So we either used to make tea out of these things. We would make soup. So that's how you make your vegetarian bone broths. You take your peels and your heels and you cook those things for several hours. So the end of the onion, the potato peels, the leftover pieces of celery that you don't want to eat, those things that you would compost or use as trash still have a value. And the value is that we used to throw those things in a pot and just let them cook and let them steep until there was nothing left. And you could strain that out and you had this really powerful medicine. You had a tong, you had a decoction, you had a tea or a broth that you could put in your everyday life. And so you can take these broths and you can make your rice with them. That includes the ones that you use fruit with, right? So then you can take this juice and you can use it in your rice. You can take this juice and you can use it in your beans when we're talking about kanjis and things like that. Or you can just throw those things into your beans and slow cook them. There's a lot of bland and sweet bean dishes in Chinese medicine. We eat our beans a little differently in Chinese medicine. I eat mine the old Southern way. I like mine savory, but I do still make kanjis and those kinds of things for myself and for my munchkin. So the things that you would throw away as pieces of food, even with bone broth, those pieces of the meat that you don't want to eat should go in a pot. That's what a bone broth is. All those
Wow.
vegetable peels and fruit peels go in a pot, and you just cook them, and then you drink that. And that is a ton of nutrition. That is a ton of antioxidant. That's a ton of trace minerals. That's a ton of vitamins and stuff that people throw away. And you should be consuming those things, not tossing them out.
Oh. Well, we learned something today. Lakeisha says, well, Maureen says she loves this talk that we're having. Brenda says, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maureen says, now you know. And Lakeisha closes it out by saying, so no tea bag, even natural juice, use peels.
Yeah, just throw it all in there. Throw it in there and cook it. Now, also understand that peels have a tendency to be a little bit bitter, but we know that bitter, right, is something that is used to detoxify, right? So bitter things have a purpose, and most bitter things help to aid in your immune system. So remember that all bitter things don't have to be sweetened, and that you can also use salt and vinegar as other substitutes instead of using sugar always whenever you have these bitter flavors. So bitter melon is something that is used in Chinese medicine, and we say that this is really good for things like your liver and your digestion. It's full of antioxidants. We can't be afraid of the bitter things in our diet. They don't have to taste bad. You can make this palatable if you just kind of work with it a little bit. And it's old stuff. So what do you care? You're not losing any money.
That's true.
Stuff you're going to throw away
money, actually.
Yes,
you're saving money. Exactly. You're saving money because now you don't have to go buy all these nutritional supplements. And as we well know, when you're talking about stress and depression and anxiety and irritability and frustration, a part of that is simply not having adequate nutrition. Americans are some of the fattest people, and we have some of the most calories, but we have some of the most terrible nutritional profiles. Most of us are overfed and undernourished. And these are some of the reasons why, is because we don't have a very diversified food vocabulary. We just kind of have whatever we can open. And that's not real food. Real food is the stuff that comes in from the ground. It's not in a package. It's not how you should be getting 90% of your food. So where most people have the goal of trying to have like 50% raw or 50% vegetation, I go for like, can I have 90% natural? Like, is it something that I didn't have to open a can, a bag, or a box for? If so, then I'm meeting my nutritional requirements. The other thing that I aim for is how many colors can I get in my food at any one point in time? Because there's 7 colors, right? We have Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. We have 7 colors in the rainbow. How many do you eat a day? If you're not doing that, then you probably have an inadequate nutritional profile. And so that's the challenge. Like, how many colors can I eat? How many colors can I put in my tea? How many colors are going into my body? Because each one of these colors has a nutritional property that is beneficial for fighting cancer, for fighting depression and anxiety, for building up your immune system, for helping out with autoimmune diseases and inflammatory conditions. Like, food is medicine, and medicine is food. And that's why I like introducing people to different ways of approaching nutrition. Can you expand your food vocabulary? If you've never had boudin, time to try it. If you've never had fresh basil, time to try it. If you don't know where to find a key lime, then I promise you, this Sunday under the bridge and somewhere on Saturday, I'm not sure where, Lynn Cove Ranch will be there, and they'll be selling all these amazing citrons. And you can go and make all of these things, including the peels, right? Because after you eat the orange, what are you gonna do with the peel? Throw it away? No, hold on to it, let it dry out. And then you can add it to your tea or your soups or your beans, and that will give things a nice flavor without it being sour or sweet. It's just fragrant. And that's what helps to protect the digestion in traditional Chinese medicine, on top of some basic rules like don't eat too much cold, don't eat too much sweet, don't eat too much greasy, and don't skip meals. Like we like to do this fasting thing. According to nutrition, it shows that when you put the body under duress, that the body can bounce back and sometimes be better than ever, which is cool, except that we have this thing called a circadian rhythm, and our body likes to do things at the same time every day. And it will let you know, it's like, it is 8 o'clock. It is time for coffee. It is 9 o'clock. It is time to go to the bathroom. It is 12 o'clock. It is time for lunch. It is 6 o'clock. It is time for dinner. It is 9 o'clock. It is time to go to bed. Your body knows what time it's supposed to do things. And when we don't honor that, then we start to create imbalance in Chinese medicine. We don't use the word toxic in Chinese medicine. Well, I've got to purge all these toxins. Like, no, are you in balance? So if you're in balance, then you are less likely to have health problems. You will have balanced nutrition if you're eating 7 colors at regular times. And balanced nutrition is the cornerstone to a balanced wellness. If you don't have that, then you cannot be well.
Wow.
That is all. So, Dr. Dandridge, do you have any events coming up or anything like that that people could maybe attend a class that you might be teaching?
Oh man, not till next year. I haven't set up my schedule for next year yet. I am hoping to do another ear seed class in January with the fantabulous Jill. I like to teach. This is my new thing. I'm teaching people how to put in ear seeds for their own wellness. My studies and my research is in the use of acupuncture to treat transgenerational trauma and racial battle fatigue and post-traumatic slave syndrome. So we're talking about trauma that has been passed down and epigenetics. And my take on the subject is that we don't have enough daily interventions for chronic stress. And most of us, self-included, like we have highly stressful lives. We have the emails and the text messages and the jobs and the kids and the soccer momming and the spouses and it never ends in the traffic. There's always something that's got us kind of tense, but we don't have something that we can do all day, every day to deal with that stress. And that's why I want people to learn about ear seeds. And it's something that anybody, including children, can do. It's just putting a little sticker in your ear, and then you can rub on this sticker and give your ear a little attention, and that will help to switch the body from stress mode back down into rest mode. And then when you go to do your yogas and you go to do your Tai Chi and you go to do your meditation and you go to do all these other wellness events, your nervous system is primed to receive all the healing from these other modalities. So it is my goal. I have a meeting coming up. And once I have this meeting next week, I'll tell you when the next class is. Because I'm trying to work with larger organizations to help disseminate the information to what I call gatekeepers. And I call gatekeepers the people who are in the field of medicine, the people who are licensed clinical social workers, the people who are daycare providers, the people who are teachers, the people who are barbers, the gatekeepers who are constantly touching large numbers of people and children in the community. These are the people that I want to really have access to this ear seed information so that it can spread and disseminate more quickly, and more people can be touched with how can I deal with stress besides having to stop and do downward dog. Because if you're driving and someone just cut you off, you can't stop.
Please
and do
don't.
salutation. That's not realistic. If your kid is driving you crazy and you really need to get through the dishes and cook dinner, you can't stop and go, I'm going to do 15 minutes of meditation. That's not realistic. But you can reach up and just like, okay, I'm going to give 30 seconds to taking a deep breath, and I'm going to rub this spot on my ear, like, whoever showed me, and put these things in, and that kicks in automatically your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can calm down. And that's also what this point right here does. But get down, go away. When
It's
you push
fine.
on this point, sorry, a little bombing of a little person. When you're pushing on this point, it automatically helps to engage your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can calm down. When what we call it smooths the liver chi. So if I can teach people these kinds of things, if I can get that information out there, then I don't need people coming to my clip. Go, excuse me.
Hey, people, that's the beauty of life. And that's the beauty of family. We love them.
So you just woke up a few minutes ago. So normally he sleeps a little longer.
Of course, not today.
Not today, never.
Well, I want you to know that everybody is saying things like, let me show you so you know. Awesome. They really enjoyed it. We have someone who says it's worth watching again.
Thank you. I'm glad.
And then here is Lakeisha is saying, please post your events here in BizChick so that she'll know when it's going to be.
Absolutely, I would do that.
Okay. And then one last comment from Brenna. We fast because food was always abundant in many cultures. Eat ancestral and have a great day. Trying to be
Awesome.
helpful. Always. Thank you so much, Lakeisha. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you
Let's
for
go
It was
having
ahead.
so much fun.
You want to make some closing comments there, Robin?
Oh, I was just going to thank Dr. Dandridge and let her know that this was really, really fun. And I am going to take my socks and shoes off as soon as we get off this this little chat and start pressing on those points. The stomach 44 point
and
and the
liver
liver.
three.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you for that. That's awesome.
my pleasure. Thank you again for having me, and thank you for having this wonderful platform. And thank you for being in the background and making sure that everything is going the way that it's supposed to, Miss Francine. And you guys are really, really, really awesome. Thank you again.
Okay, now don't hang up because
Okay.
when Francine shuts the show down, we still can chat a little bit.
Okay.
All right, guys. We want to remind you that tomorrow is Friday. We will be talking tech and English. So tune in. And remember that Biz Chicks has a special going on where you can talk to 3 specialists in the area of pricing, social media, and marketing for the low price of $4.99. It's good for Black Friday. So now look forward to talking to you about that tomorrow. In the meantime, we want you to remember, don't forget to go to the front of your own line. We love you guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks again, Doc. See you later,
Thank
Robin.
you.